It's time for the 1430 Connection on 1430 WNAV and 99.9 FM, spotlighting news, newsmakers, and important community issues. Now, with this week's edition of the 1430 Connection, here is WNAV news anchor Donna Cole.
Welcome to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. In the studio with me today is Rear Admiral Frank Thorp, the fourth retired, and we are talking about the USS Sioux City. Admiral, thank you for joining me.
And Donna, thank you for having me in here. I'm enjoying it.
Actually, some biographical information about the Admiral. He's familiar with Annapolis. You have some history here.
I sure do. I was born and brought up here. I'm the youngest of 6 children. Matter of fact, it's funny you say Frank Thorp the fourth. Frank Thorp the third. My father owned Thorp Chevrolet back in the day. He sold it in the 70s and out on West Street. Matter of fact, he moved the car dealership from right outside of the gate at the Naval Academy out to West Street where the Honda dealership is now, and everybody told him at the time nobody will ever go that far out to buy an automobile. That was in the late 50s, early 60s.
And that far out is right up the street. It's right at the top of Admiral and West Street.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And you decided not to go in the family business with cars. You went ships.
I sure did. My father very much encouraged me to go in the Navy. He had served in the Army. He was a paratrooper on D-Day in the 101st Airborne. And he, from my very youngest age, he encouraged me to go in the Navy. I have 3 brother-in-laws that graduated from the Naval Academy, and kind of the Navy became the family business. And so I went to the Naval Academy. I was class of 1981.
Well, thank you for serving. Speaking of Annapolis, and speaking of the USS Sioux City, named for the 3rd largest city in Iowa, the ship, the USS Sioux City, is being built in Wisconsin.
It is. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So this ship, though, is being commissioned where?
It's going to be commissioned at the Naval Academy. Back in the day, ships were commissioned actually at the shipyard that they were built. And in the early 1980s, there's a kind of a neat emotional story about a sponsor of a ship who couldn't make it to the commissioning, and she and her husband had been really big supporters of the Navy. Her husband passed away, and so Secretary Lehman at the time said, well, we're going to bring the ship to Yorktown, Virginia, and commission the USS Yorktown in Yorktown. And it was such a big hit for the community, and it really involved the community with the Navy, that Secretary Lehman said, from now on, we're going to commission ships out somewhere in the United States other than the shipyard.
Very cool. I had no idea the story, even though I was stationed right there in Yorktown. That's an interesting story.
So the Littoral Combat Ship, which is a brand new class of ship that the Navy's building, they only take 13 feet of water. It's designed to go into shallow water. And so therefore it can tie up right on the seawall next to the sailing center.
So cool. Tell me more about the ship. It's the most advanced the Navy's, and we just had another one not long ago come up the bay.
Yeah, the USS Zumwalt just came up the bay and was commissioned in Baltimore late last year. And that is a guided missile destroyer, one of 3 that are going to be built of the Zumwalt class. And that's a real stealth ship. And that has Tomahawk missiles, and that's a big, big, big ship. And that ship is too big to come alongside of the pier at the Naval Academy. The Sioux City is a littoral combat ship, and it's basically a frigate-sized ship. It's smaller than a destroyer. It's about 380-some feet long. And the Navy decided to build these back in the 90s. Through some war games that they went through, lessons learned, as well as a result of Desert Storm and Desert Shield, where the need was identified to build a ship that did 2 things. It went in shallow and it went fast. And so normal destroyers, cruisers, they do about 30 knots, a little more than 30 miles an hour. A littoral combat ship does more than 40 knots, 46, 47 miles an hour. It's actually a jet ski. There are no propellers on this ship. It actually pushes the water much like a jet ski you see out in the bay.
Well, that's going to be pretty cool to see coming up the bay. And, yeah.
It really will be. It kind of looks like I said, like a smaller destroyer, a frigate-sized ship. And Donna, when you talk about coming up the bay, when she comes up in up the bay, we're talking about having a flotilla of boats to meet her down south and then escort her up for the week.
All right, we're going to take a short break. We're going to talk about when this is and what's needed to make this happen into this huge festive occasion that it will be. This is Donna Cole on the 1430 Connection. We will be right back. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm in the studio with Rear Admiral Frank Thorp. He's a native Annapolitan. He still lives in Annapolis, no longer in the Navy. He's retired, but he's one of two people that are heading up this commissioning ceremony for the USS Sioux City. This will be taking place in Annapolis. When will this be?
It'll be next summer, early summer, somewhere April, May, June time frame. The actual date will depend on a couple things. The ship is under construction right now in Wisconsin, and so when the ship will actually be finished construction is still to be determined. There's still a couple ships ahead of it that are being built, and then also interestingly, because it's being built in Wisconsin, the ice needs to melt in the St. Lawrence River for the ship to come through the St. Lawrence and around and then up the Chesapeake. So we figure the date will be set by the end of the year, and the actual date will be somewhere April, May, June timeframe.
Okay, the type of ship you just taught us.
Littoral combat ship.
It's not the first in its class, and it's LCS 11.
Correct.
Okay.
And so, as you've just hinted at, that it's the 11th LCS to be built. And Donna, there's actually two different kinds of littoral combat ships. One of them, the Sioux City, is a monohull. It looks like a frigate. It's a small destroyer, and it's got a gun on the bow, and it's got some stealthy characteristics. And as you were saying earlier, it's going to look really cool coming up the bay. And then the other version is actually a catamaran, which, as you were saying, we were talking earlier that people in Annapolis will appreciate the fact that it's the first time the Navy will ever have a catamaran as a warship. And so it's a lot wider. The USS Sioux City is going to actually be the sixth of the class that are monohulls, and therefore, the even numbers are the catamarans, the odd numbers are the monohulls. And so the USS Sioux City will be the sixth of the class, and it's a Freedom class is what it's called, and so it's a sixth Freedom class to be built, and the first two or three have already been commissioned, and then the others are still in construction in Wisconsin.
And because it can go into shallow drafts, will the ship be carrying Marines as well as Navy, and how many crew?
So, great question. And talk about technology and modern. The Navy is designing this ship to be modular. Back in the old days, ships were built with a lifespan of 30 years. And when that ship was built, to upgrade the technology was really, really difficult. And it would take ripping the ship apart. I mean, think about how often we change technology, our laptops, our iPhones, and Blackberries, thing of the past.
It's antiquated as soon as it's out.
Yeah, so the Navy has designed this littoral combat ship to be modular. There's 3, 4, 5 different variants that they can put, and they're increasing those number of variants as time goes on, so that when it can go into port, literally take out the modules and put in new modules.
Oh my gosh, how cool is that? Yeah.
Very cool. It's kind of like plug and play kind of thing, like plugging in a new VCR or a new VHS. I'm dating myself. So one version is anti-ship, so it can fight against other ships. Another version is anti-submarine, to hunt for submarines. Another version is mine hunting. Another version, as you were mentioning, is being able to carry Marines and Special Forces. And when you talk about Marines and Special Forces, think about the ability to go into shore really fast, go in shallow, drop off the troops, and then get out of there really quick.
Pretty cool. So crew capacity?
95 people. So the rough breakdown of that is about 48, 50 people in the crew, and then the other 45 operating the module. So they're all together as one crew. And then, Donna, the other thing the Navy's doing about this ship is, in order to get better value for the citizens, for the taxpayers, they're going to do like we do on ballistic missile submarines and have more than one crew. So the crews will train ashore using technology, then swap out and go to a ship and operate on the ship, and then swap out again. And so there'll be two different crews.
This is the new Navy, huh?
It really is, because manpower is a very expensive thing. And today, the good news about our military today is that the compensation that our service members get is adequate. It's no longer the days of back 20, 30 years ago. When you served, it was tough. And when I first came in the Navy, it was tough. And so now wages are appropriate. The challenge is that makes them expensive. So in order to get the best value for the taxpayer, the Navy's gone into this multi-crew rotation where it makes it a lot less expensive to operate our ships.
Pretty cool. Okay, we're going to talk about all that goes into the commissioning ceremony, because this can't happen without the public's help.
That's right. It's going to be a great week of festivities.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about how the public can help and what they can expect here in Annapolis when the ship is commissioned. This is Donna Cole on the 1430 Connection. We will be right back. Welcome back to the 1430 Connection. I'm Donna Cole. I'm in the studio with Rear Admiral Frank Thorp, retired, and he is heading up the commissioning ceremonies for the USS Sioux City. It's going to take place right here in Annapolis sometime next year. They're going to get that date straightened out as soon as we can figure out when the ship will be completed and when the ice will be gone from the St. Lawrence River so it can make the passage down here to Annapolis.
That's exactly right.
All right. So what is involved in a commissioning event? It costs money. Annapolis, the Navy needs you.
That's exactly right. Taking a step back, and the whole reason we're doing this is, and me personally, I have 1 foot of my life in the Navy and 1 foot in Annapolis. And when you truly look at it, those are the, besides family, those are the two loves of my life, Annapolis and the Navy. And what this commissioning does is it brings those two together. And just, staying on the philosophical point, I used to think that red wall that goes around the Naval Academy was designed to keep the midshipmen in. At least when I was there, that's what I thought it was designed to do. What's happened now after 9/11, quite frankly, is, you can't drive onto the Naval Academy unless you have an ID card.
Right.
Everybody can walk on, but because of the wall and security, you don't think so. So really what this commissioning is going to be able to do, it's going to be able to connect the city of Annapolis and the surrounding areas of Annapolis with the Navy and the Naval Academy. It's that opportunity to bring people, bring families, and onto the Naval Academy, see the Naval Academy, experience the commissioning. So it's going, like you said, it's going to be a week of festivities. The ship will come up into Annapolis about a week before the actual event. And we're planning, as we were talking about, having a big flotilla, the Eastport Yacht Club, the Annapolis Yacht Club, involving them in. And so greet the ship way before it gets to Annapolis, come up, tie up at the Naval Academy the weekend before. And then it'll be a week of festivities, a big cruise picnic, and welcome the crew of the Sioux City to Annapolis. And then through the week, there'll be receptions on the ship, receptions at the Naval Academy, and just an opportunity to connect the city of Annapolis and the Naval Academy and the Navy. And then on Saturday, there'll be the huge commissioning ceremony. And Donna, there's a lot of people who have never been to a commissioning ceremony, and it's not like anything you've ever seen before. When you think of the pomp and circumstance and the Navy band and the red, white, and blue flags and bunting, the sailors in formation, and then when the couple of really good kind of motivational speeches with a ship in the background, you're on the Naval Academy grounds, and then when the ship sponsor, Mary Winnefeld, who is just an absolutely wonderful individual, when she gives that order, bring this ship to life, and the crew jogs onto the ship, the band plays, the ship's whistle goes, the radar start moving, there will not be a person in that crowd, 5,000 or 6,000 people, who won't have a lump in their throat and be so excited by that event.
It's incredibly patriotic.
Yes. Yeah. So the role of our committee, which we're a committee of Annapolitans who just feel that volunteer need to bring everything together. We're going to put all these events together. A couple of the receptions are hundreds of people, and like I said, the big event, 5,000 or 6,000 people, and it's a real community event. So we are off on our effort to raise the money. Taxpayers do not pay for these events at all. This is all community, and that's kind of neat from a taxpayer standpoint, right, that it really involves the community. So we are setting off here this summer to raise $800,000, which will do three things. One, it'll fund those activities, which will really, like I said, connect the crew, the ship, the Navy, the Naval Academy, Annapolis, the surrounding areas of Annapolis, and the state of Maryland. The second thing it will do is, it is special to be a plank owner of a ship, which, as you know, is somebody who is one of the first crew members on a brand new ship. That's an honor in
Absolutely.
the Navy. And it will also be an honor to be able to say for the rest of time, especially the next 30 years while this ship operates forward and people read about it in the press, that I was there when that ship was born. I was there when that ship went from a hunk of steel to an American war-fighting machine.
Right.
And so those funds recognize, we'll do plaques and recognition for every one of those 95 crew members, and actually the other crew too, so 190, 100 and 90 crew members. And then the neat thing we're doing, Donna, is we're going to create a legacy fund for this crew. And it's about $200,000. And, you served in the Navy.
I did, and it's not easy paying for school, even though there is a GI Bill. You still have expenses, and this is so important.
And that's exactly right. This fund the actual corpus of the fund, the base of the fund will not be spent for the life of the ship, but this fund will give the commanding officer the opportunity to give education opportunities to the crew, and their families when they need that little extra money, when the GI Bill doesn't kick in, or for whatever reason, online courses or whatever. And it's not only the dollars that will have a significant impact, and they will in their own right have, like you said, that ability to go out and get that education. But that's what makes the American military different. Is today American people serving in the United States military feel that the American people appreciate them. So when they look over their shoulder and the commanding officer is able to give them a little bit of money to pay for that education, it's not just the funds, it's the, I'm a special person. I'm an E4 in the United States Navy, and the American people appreciate me and are going to help me get an education.
And it's cool that their families are making a sacrifice too. So some of this you said will go to the families that are seeking education. I can't speak highly enough of this idea. It's just an amazing thing. Okay, so where can people donate money?
So the best way to do it is to go to our website, USSSiouxCity.org. Again, it's USS for United States Ship, USSSiouxCity.org. And Sioux, here in Annapolis, Sioux City is SIOUX.
It's the same in Iowa, right?
Exactly. I'm just glad we're from Annapolis. It's easier to spell. But so go to our website, and you'll see there's different levels that you can support us at, and all the way we ranked them from midshipman all the way up to admiral, and there's some benefits there: a ball caps and coins and stuff like that, commissioning certificates, and we just really need the support.
Is it a USS Sioux City ball cap?
It is a USS Sioux City ball cap.
Okay. All right.
So what the coolest thing about this is not only is it an opportunity to raise money, but for us, but the wearing the ball caps, and we're working with the city. By the way, the Rhonda Wardlaw and the city of Annapolis are just so wonderful to work with, and the mayor. They've all been very supportive. And that week, we're looking to put banners on Main Street and West Street. And what would be really cool between now and then is to go online now to support us and get that ball cap and wear that ball cap around town. And people are going to go, wait a minute,
how did you get that?
Why are all these USS Sioux City ball caps around Annapolis? Oh, because we're going to commission the ship in a really big week. It's going to be one of the top events in the city of Annapolis next summer.
In the history of Annapolis.
Exactly.
Let's go with that. The final question, why is it not being commissioned in Sioux City rather than Annapolis?
Because the ship takes too much water to get up to the Sioux City, Iowa.
But it's still got you said it's a low draft, though.
It is a low draft, but still Sioux City's pretty landlocked.
Okay.
So that really works to our advantage here. Like, for instance, to your point, USS Detroit was commissioned in Detroit, the Milwaukee in Milwaukee. The USS Sioux City, unfortunately, will never be able to get to visit Sioux City. But what's really neat is the people from Sioux City are also behind this, and there's going to be a significant economic impact because hundreds of them are going to fly to Annapolis for this week and stay at our hotels and eat in our restaurants.
Actually, let's make that thousands. And to the people of Sioux City, thank you for joining us here in Annapolis. Our doors are open for you.
There you go.
Admiral, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you for everything you do here to keep us informed in the city of Annapolis.
One last time on the website?
It's www.USSSiouxCity.org.
It has previously been asserted and reported by some the commissioning of the USS Sioux City will be the first ship in history to be commissioned at the U.S. Naval Academy. I have independently confirmed the USS Cyclone was commissioned at the Naval Academy in 1993. Annapolis also has a rich history in shipbuilding. Chance Marine Construction, the Annapolis Yacht Yard, and Trumpy & Sons supplied the U.S. Navy with patrol boats, torpedo boats, and subchasers from approximately 1918 through 1945. This is Donna Cole on the 1430 Connection. We will see you next week.